Hey YouTubers, and welcome back to Tony the Technician channel, and today we're going to be going into all of my pliers. I'm going to quickly run through my entire pliers drawer. I have quite a few pliers. I'll go through each one, their brand, rough price for as much as I can, and I'll go into whether or not they're really pliers that I use pretty often, or if they're kind of more of a backup or a pair of pliers that you may need to use two of, things like that. I'll give you my thoughts on them, whether they're worth it or not, and then all of these tools that I do suggest are going to be linked down in the description. You'll see a tools link, it'll say tools, and then there will be a link next to it. I have other links as well, but all of the tools that I do suggest will be linked there for you guys if you guys are interested. I try and find the best prices as possible on Amazon for you guys, so it's there if you want. But other than that, let's get into all of my pliers and the details that I have on them, and I really hope you guys enjoy. This is my pliers drawer, and you can only see from, I still have like 5 more pair over this direction, same over here, and I have quite a few along the bottom. You might not be able to see all of them. I have an old pair of diamond Duluth slip joints here that I got from my great grandfather. I don't really use them, they're more of a keepsake. Then I have some of the Gearwrench push pin pliers. I have 2 sets of those. I don't really use those all that often. Most of the time I just find myself popping them out myself. Other than that, I have the 4-piece set of the Tekton snap ring pliers. I don't believe these are sold anymore, and I don't believe I can find them on Amazon. I believe I've looked a few times and just can't find them anymore. But I do use those fairly often. They've held up well. Knipex pliers, very small little set. Then I have a cheap set of Play-Doh flush cuts. These things have been great. I used these a lot before getting the set that I'm about to show you. They are spring loaded, so I keep, what do you know, a zip tie on them. The one thing I use flush cuts to cut, I use to keep these shut. I used those for probably a year, and I used them a lot doing rewiring and stuff until I got these Fujiya pliers. These things are amazing, great quality. Fujiya makes some great stuff. Their stuff that's made in Japan is fantastic. I always use these just because they're extremely sharp, and I've done a video on these, but they have a cutter on them, or a catcher, a zip tie catcher, so when you cut the zip tie, it catches the part that you cut off and you don't lose it anywhere, so that's fantastic. And that I also have a much larger set of flush cuts. This is for heavier duty stuff. These are extremely sharp as well. Once again, Fujiya, made in Japan. Then I have some Carlisle diagonal side cutters, have some Knipex diagonal side cutters, use those pretty often. Knipex is obviously one of my favorite brands. They are a little bit more expensive compared to some of the other brands, but I believe them to be one of the top plier brands available. Same thing with channellock. The thing I like about channellock, they don't necessarily have the cleanest pliers. Their quality control isn't the highest. Like, just the finish on them isn't always the best, but they're made in the USA. They're good quality, and they've never done me wrong. So I really enjoy channellock. Plus, they're extremely affordable. The other one I have for diagonal side cutters is the Southwire USA made diagonal side cutters, and I really do enjoy these. I used them a lot. This was one of my first pairs until I got the channellock and Knipex, and then I just don't find myself using them all that often, but there's no reason why I wouldn't use them. And then I have the Knipex diagonal side cutters, and most of these products are going to be linked down in the description, so if you guys are wondering part numbers, just go ahead and check out the description. I'd say about 90% of these tools are going to be linked down there for you guys. If it's not, leave a comment. I'd be glad to find any information for you. Please don't be afraid to ask any questions. Here are some Fujiya diagonal side cutters. These are fantastic. Once again, Fujiya has a great finish, great quality, but I haven't had these long, haven't used them all that much, but once again, another one, I don't really have a reason why I wouldn't. It's just I have 5 or 6 pairs of diagonal side cutters. Then I have the channellock end nippers. I don't use these all that often, but they are handy when you do need them, so I do make sure to keep a good pair of end nippers. Next up are my Knipex angled long nose pliers. These things are fantastic. I love how thin of a profile they are. I use these actually pretty often, and I love the leverage I can get with them as well for pulling cotter pins or anything like that. Next up are my needle nose straight long nose pliers. I just love how smooth the Knipex pliers are. They've always been good to me. I've always really enjoyed them. And as you can tell, I really like Knipex. And yes, the K is pronounced. We're not gonna argue that though. Here is another set of channel locks. These are their long nose pliers. I really like these. They're not quite as thin of a profile, and you can tell that, you know, it's channel lock. They just don't have the cleanest finish to them. They're a little misshaped, but the quality is still there. It's just the finishing on them. I just feel like they rushed that, but the usefulness of the tool is still there, especially for a great price. So you got some teeth, you got a flat portion, you got an open jaw and a cutter. So all around a great set of long nose pliers. Next up are some Fujiya made in Japan miniature long nose pliers, and this has a wire splitter, open jaw, and some fine teeth, plus a cutter, and in the middle of that cutter is actually a stripper for small wires. So depending on what kind of occupation you're in, that could be very useful, or it could be annoying to have that stripper on the cutting portion. So I do have another pair of Fujiya that is just long nose with the cutter. And once again, like I say before, Fujiya is great quality, made in Japan. Here's a pair of Fujiya lineman pliers. I don't use a lot of lineman pliers. I only have 2 pair of lineman pliers because I don't use them often. They are nice to have, probably my least used type of plier. This set specifically has fine teeth up front with an open jaw, a diamond polished cutting portion, and a crimping portion at the bottom. Then I have my larger channel lock lineman pliers, really nice. They have cross hatching in the teeth, which is another really nice feature. See that or not? But a good set of pliers, but once again, not a pair that I use very often. Next up are some of my most commonly used pliers, and they're actually miniature bolt cutters from Knipex. I never knew I would use a miniature pair of bolt cutters so much, but these things have been used for probably 3 years now, and I've used them a lot, and they've held up, they work great, and I highly suggest this set. I have this Craftsman kind of janky knockoff locking adjustable pliers. I'll tell you one thing, I think I've used them once in the last roughly 5 years that I've had them. I don't even remember if I bought these or if I was given them. I couldn't really say if they're, you know, worth it or not, but they do have teeth up in here, some fine teeth for biting into fasteners, and it's got that vice grip type. So I don't know, maybe I'll find a use for it in the future. Next up, I have the Milwaukee vice grips, locking pliers, whatever you want to call them. These have actually held up really well. I'm not sure if there's mixed reviews on these or not. I haven't looked into them all that often. I've had them a few years now, and they've held up really well. I have the long nose, then I have the open jaw as well. And this is called torque lock. It's so you can apply more torque to tightening this down if necessary. I find them to be a good set of locking pliers. Next up are my DeWalt kind of Cobra knockoffs. They're decent. I had these before I talked myself into buying the actual Cobras, and there's more play in these in the head and everything, and less teeth for adjustment. There's not as many teeth in here, but still for an affordable set, this with the larger set, I want to say it was around $20 or $25 for the 2 pair together. I want to say, I could be off a little bit, but they're decent. So if you're a DIYer, weekend warrior, or just getting into the professional field and trying to save some money and you want to go that route, and then buy better later if necessary, those aren't bad. There's a little bit more play in them. I also have the Boss Stitch version as well. I don't use these quite as often, but I do use these when, you know, when I need 2 pairs to work together. I use those 2 together because they're basically the same thing. And that I have the actual Knipex Cobra pliers, and these things are fantastic. Just the design of them, the strength, the quality, the amount of teeth here for adjustability, it's fantastic. Now, like I stated, Knipex is going to be on the higher end and higher price. Now, Knipex does have some pliers made by Wild. I want to say that's how you pronounce it. I don't know. But I know a lot of their USA made tools are made by them, and the prices are really good for, USA made products. So I have a couple of Tekton's USA made products, and this is one of their pliers that I have from them. Don't use this style all that often. I find myself using the Cobra style more often, but these are still good pliers for a really, really good price. I want to say they're somewhere around $10, $20 a pair. These Knipex pliers, the PW7, and these things are fantastic. I didn't think I would use these all that often either. It's kind of like a I hate to even compare this, but it's like a way better version of this Craftsman big old honker over here. You can basically adjust it to any size fastener, and you clamp down on it, and it's like a vice grip on that thing. These things are fantastic. But once again, these are actually pretty spendy. I want to say I paid $40 or $50 just for this smaller set. Next up are a pair I haven't really, probably only used 2 or 3 times. It's basically the same style as that Knipex, but it is the Fujiya ones, but this is their Gearwrench line, and a lot of the Gearwrench line is not made in Japan. I believe these are made in Taiwan, and this has got like a chalkboard feeling to the protective coating on it, and I hate that feeling. I would probably use these more often if they weren't. It had mixed reviews. Some people stated that they broke them. I haven't broke them, but then again, I haven't used them all that often, so I'm just giving them more time before I actually do an in-depth review on these. But this is another Fujiya product. Next up, I have the Pittsburgh hose pliers. I use these for hoses, but I also use them for connectors where you gotta pinch a tab on each side of the connector. I pinch it with these pliers. I have all 3 sizes as well along here. Then I have Tekton's old long diagonal side cutters. I've probably used these a handful of times. I thought I was going to use them a lot more than I did, or I do, but they don't even sell them anymore. It was back before Tekton really started improving and re-engineering a lot of their tools, so I believe they took these off of their lineup. The duckbills from Tekton, I actually really love these. These are nice. They do have cross hatching in the jaws, and it goes a good portion of the way down, probably about 3/4 of the way, and then you have some flat portion here. These are not made in the USA, but still a great set of duckbill pliers. Next up, I have the Pittsburgh long reach, long nose pliers, and these are great. I've had them for years. Extremely cheap. You get the straight and the angled, and I mean, I've used these a lot, haven't had an issue with them. There's a little bit of flex to them, but they've worked really well, and they're extremely cheap. So I can't really say anything negative about those. If you can save yourself some money and still be satisfied with the way they operate, then it's a win-win. And then I have the Gearwrench straight and angled nose double X pliers, and these ones have been stiff since I bought them. I've soaked them in oil, you know, and tried to break them in, but when I get past this point right here, they are stiff. But most things, when I'm using these, because I don't use them often, but when I do use them, it's in an extremely tight space. So this is usually all I ever need to grab the fastener or cotter pin or anything that I did drop. But the angled ones were about as stiff, and they've broken loose after some use. So these are nice. Crescent and a couple others make the exact same pair, and you can find those varying $5 to $10 for the set, so make sure you find the best price for those. Then I have the Knipex version of the straight and angled. Absolutely love these. I wish I had more reasons to use them more often because they're such great pliers, but they're not used all that often. But I do love all of the features they include. You have very fine teeth up here, some open jaw portions here. This is for splitting wires and grabbing small fasteners. And then you have an open jaw here with teeth that really allow you to grip into some fasteners. Really nice German-made company. After those two, I have the Fujiya slip joint pliers. This is their slim design. These are made in Japan. It is the Gearwrench lineup, but this set is made in Japan. I do like the open jaw portion here in the slip joints. It really allows you to bite into fasteners a little bit better with this shape that they have going on here. But these are lightweight pliers, so you're not applying a lot of torque with these. As you can tell, they're extremely thin. So I have my channel locks, nice big teeth. This is a 6-inch pair. Once again, the finish is decent. Once again, you can't complain about it because it's made in the USA. You got good material here and a good operating pair of pliers for a really good price. Once again, I just think the finish could be a little bit better on these pliers. I have some of my new favorite pliers sent from Dave Young, one of my subscribers I've been friends with for a few years now. He sent me these and I have really enjoyed these. I love the pivot point on them, how they are flush. I love the finish on it. SK really went above and beyond when doing these SK pliers, and I definitely plan on purchasing some more SK products in the future whenever I can find deals. But once again, these are some of my go-to slip joints because of how they're designed. I just really enjoy these, and I believe they're around $20. Amazon, you can find them for $25 to $35. Next up are the Tekton slip joints, and here I really like these because they're USA made. Once again, good finish, good quality. You have 2 open jaw portions here and some teeth up front, so they're a really good set of pliers for a really good price. I'm gonna say around $12 or so. And then here are my snap-on slip joint pliers. I really enjoyed the 3-position joint here and how large and sharp these teeth are. They have diamond teeth up here, so it's kind of like cross hatching, but a lot more aggressive. They are a little bit wider and thicker than your standard slip joint pliers, but all around a great set. I picked these up for like $22. They're normally $50. And then over here where you can't really see, I have a lot of my Vamplier pliers. Here I have the long nose, and if you haven't checked out Vampliers, they're for screw extraction. They have an open portion here that allow you to really bite into fasteners that are rounded off or stripped and allow you to turn it out. But they still work as standard pliers as well. You got teeth here, a flat portion, a cutter. So all around a great set of long nose pliers. I have a spring loaded pair here, screw extraction, some fine teeth along here, an open jaw portion, a cutter. They are spring loaded with a cap to keep them stored. So I really like that. The handles are extremely comfortable on these pliers, and the finish is great. These are all made in Japan from Vampliers, and they're decently priced. They're getting up there. I want to say they're anywhere from the $20 to $50 range depending on the set that you get. I have the slip joint pair as well. These things are actually fantastic. It has some finer teeth up in the jaws. And then you have your open jaw portion and your slip joint feature. It doesn't have the friction shear at the bottom like most slip joints do, but they still work great as a pair of slip joint pliers. Next up, I have a Fujiya version of the Vampliers or screw extraction pliers. These are not made in Japan. I want to say these are Vietnam. I can't remember for sure. Nice clean finish, simple handle, and the screw extraction. The design is a little bit different. You still have those teeth going vertically. So the screw extraction still works great. You can remove the spring if you don't like the spring action. So they're a little bit cheaper than the Vampliers. So if you're looking at something a little bit cheaper, these are really nice. Even though they're not made in Japan, they're still of good quality. And then last up are my Tekton oil filter pliers. These things are fantastic, held up really well. Anytime you have a stubborn oil filter, something like this is fantastic. The only downside is when you can't get this in to access the oil filter. And that you have 3 positions for the slip joint for different size oil filters and some nice big teeth here. And they've been great and affordable. I want to say they're $15, maybe $12 to $15. And that is it as far as my pliers. I really hope you guys enjoyed. You saw some Tekton, Knipex, channellock, Fujiya, some snap-on, some SK, some Milwaukee locking pliers, some DeWalt. So, you know, some Pittsburgh. So you got stuff all the way from the bottom dollar up to the high-end expensive stuff. A majority of these I use fairly often, and I stated those ones that I don't use all that often, like some of my diagonal side cutters, because I have so many pairs of them. I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, please make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you guys have any questions on any of these that aren't linked down in the description, please let me know, and I'll either link it or I'll give you information on it if you would like. And other than that, if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. I'll see you guys next time.